Hi guys, my name is Martin from Spectra DTG West Coast. What we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to take apart a ink assembly system. The first thing you're going to have to do before you even start working on this printer is make sure everything is unplugged, and I don't know how I can say that anymore. Make sure the USB is unplugged and the power cord is unplugged. You don't want no current going through this printer whatsoever. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the cover. If you come around this side, there's two screws on the back. There's one right here on the bottom, and there's one on top. When you guys take these screws off, make sure you guys separate them too, because you know, you don't want to get them lost or confused. You literally just pull this off. This panel you slide out, then go up. On the third panel, you pop out from the bottom and then push up. That's to take the panel. You do the exact same thing to the other side, and then there's one more screw on top that's holding this panel, and it's right here. Then you can go ahead and pop this front off. Before you pop this front off though, there's two cables right here, the LCD cables. You want to make sure you unplug those. That way when you pull it off, you don't pull on the cables. And it is going to be a little rough to take off. And you know what, on this side too, after you take off the paneling, there's 4 screws. There's one here, one down here, another one here, and another one on the back. We'll start from the back. Third one, and then, whoops, it's okay if you drop them. And the fourth one. On the other side, we have already taken them off. After you pull those cables out, you want to pull this front end up. You want to grab the bottom and kind of wiggle it out a little bit. And it will be a little hard, but don't be afraid to pull on it. It won't break as easy. And the third thing you want to do before you lift this cover up is these cables again. If you can see, they're through the outside. You want to pop them through and just pull them out through over here. And you can go ahead and close this and lift this whole front cover off. Make sure that when you guys lift this front cover off, you guys be careful. I open it just so I can see where everything's going. These back legs you really want to watch because they can clip onto a wire. You see how close they are to the cables, so you want to make sure you keep those as far away as you can. That way, you know, when you're taking it off, you don't pull off these cables or pull off anything. You can leave this like this. You know, I mean, you can close it, but you know, I don't know if it'll lean forward or back. I just leave it open. That way, it just stays back. And this is what we're taking off today. We're gonna learn how to take this whole system off with the lines onto the print head. Before you even move that, you want to go over here and on that plastic screw, or some of you guys might actually have the screw down here. You know, it's the same screw that you would use to do your daily maintenance to clean out your pump and cap assembly. You want to turn that counterclockwise until the print head drops. Move the print head, release it towards the center, and then you should be okay. Alrighty. First thing you want to do is, this whole assembly is hooked up to all the print head cables. You want to make sure you take off the LCD line first. You want to unplug the ink assembly to the front panel. And then, you know, just going to make sure you pull all these off. That way they're out of the way. You want to take out these cables just to get everything out of the way. You know, it's going to be a little tough, and you can bend them a little bit, but you don't want to overdo it to the point where you're bending them all over the place. You just kind of want to pop everything off just to give you some room. The next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go up to the print head. You're going to want to take the cover off. There's only one screw. And I actually use the print head cover to separate the screws, so I remember where everything goes. The second thing you want to do is you want to make sure you disconnect these. You can just pull them up. If you need to wiggle them, go ahead and do that. That way you don't just pull straight up and, you know, take the wire off that plastic piece. Just wiggle them out. The cable's the same thing. You can just pull these. Wiggle them if you need to. Then there's 4 screws on this metal plate. You want to take all 4 screws off. Then this plate comes right up. Now if you look onto this plate, there's this plastic strip. It's connected to that, so you just push down and it releases it off. And that's the first part. Now what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take this strip off. So you just pull it straight out, because there's 2 little plastic pieces. And you want to unclip these. The way you do that is it's just clipped in on top. So you can use your nail or a flathead, whatever you think you would need to use. They come right off. And you want to take these cables off of this. The cables, see how they're still attached? You want to just take those off. And it releases all this. This is actually to the print head. So these cables right here to the print head, there is separate cables on here, and I'll show you how to take those off. Now, the damper assembly, that's plugged into this. This is all one piece. So what you want to do there is there's 2 screws. There's one down here on this side, and there's one on the right side. So let's start with the right. And I'm using magnetic screwdrivers. You know, you can use these too, but just make sure that you don't get this or lay it down on the main board or anything like that, because you got to remember the tips are magnetic. And if you notice, there's 2 screws. The smaller one goes on the left and the bigger one goes on the right. You don't want to put these on the opposite side, because then you'll strip them and then you'll have to change this whole box, and you know, it can be a pain. Then you can lift this straight up. You can wiggle it out of place. And you have now freed the dampers with the ink assembly. This is still attached to the printer. What you'll have to do, just as a heads up, you're going to have to take this plastic piece right here off, and there's only 1 screw for that. Only reason why is because the ink assembly that you received doesn't come with this plastic strip. So you will need to take this off the original when you have it on to put it onto the new assembly that you're gonna need to take off. To pull this off, all you will need to do is, it's really simple. There's 2 screws. There's one on the left and one on the right, and it's actually down this square panel in the center. Just screw it until it's good. I'm going to go to the other side. And this lifts straight off. Now if you look, there is cables that are attached to this. These cables run all the way down to the back of the mainboard. To get to these cables, you will need to remove this. And to do that, there is 1 screw. You know, it's going to be kind of hard to see, but it's down here. And you will have to hold, there's a bolt right here, and then there's the nut. You will have to hold that while you unscrew that. After you unscrew it, you can literally just put your finger on here to hold the screw and just unroll the nut right off. You can pull this straight up. Make sure you do not lose this. And what I do is I take this out. Reason for it is because if you leave it in there while you're taking it apart, you might drop it somewhere in there, and then it's really hard to find. And I'll connect the nut back on here just so I don't lose that also as well. And these cables, as you can see, everything's separated. So these cables right here, you'll have to pull them off this plastic piece. And these cables are for this. You'll need to take them off. And these cables that are attached will be attached to the printhead cables. There's actually a sticky part to them. When you receive this part, it will come with a sticky strip, and all you do is you would peel that end and stick this cable back on here, so that way everything's flat and nothing's wavy or out of place. You will come right over here, and you know, to know which cables there are, you can tug on it, and you can see that there's 3. So you will pull those right out. 1, 2, and 3. You can pull these right out carefully. And this comes right off. There is a hose right here that regulates the air pressure. You want to just pull that right off. And that is how you take it off. Right here, this plastic piece I was talking about, you will have to take this off. You will just tug it, pull it off, and then the same thing on the other one. You will just take it off, put this new one on the new assembly you're putting it on, and you should be okay. And that's how you remove this whole piece of the ink assembly unit. Thanks guys for watching, and this is Martin from Spectra DTG West.
Thank you, Martin.